In front of me here, I have the full range of ECM machines with the limited edition Heritage Line. You can have a HX machine combined with a grinder or a full dual boiler with the Synchronika. Is this the next machine that you'd have in your home? Well, let's dive a little bit deeper and see if this is a perfect option for you. So if you're looking for a machine, there is no doubt in your Google searches you've come across the ECM brand. There's certainly a lot of heritage there that dates a very long way back. The machines come out of Germany, and the finesse, the detail that they put into machines is just over and above a lot of manufacturers. It's a limited edition range which has some beautiful copper accents throughout the machine, just to highlight some of the beautiful engineering that the German manufacturer can really put over and above other manufacturers. So it comes in two options. You've got your HX 2.2 litre boiler here with a vibration pump, which basically allows you to steam, do hot water and brew all by itself. Now, a couple of extra little things other than cosmetics is that it does have a PID in it. There is a switch underneath which allows you to pick two different settings for the rear boiler, so you can have a higher or a lower steam capacity, which is pretty good considering a lot of HX machines don't have that control or ability in this kind of price point. Over here, I've got the Synchronika. Now, this is a dual boiler machine. You've got a 75mm front boiler with a 2.1 litre rear boiler. So the rear boiler does the steam and hot water, and the front does the brewing of your coffee. Now, because there's a PID control in there, you can fully change all of those temperatures to suit what you need. And it also has a rotary pump. So you can plumb this model in, or you can use the tank. Now, both of them share the same tank, which is 2.5 litres. So if you're not going to be plumbing in, there's plenty of water there to enjoy plenty of coffees in a day. So sitting between these two machines is the S Manual 64mm grinder. Now, that's a flat burst set, and you can see it does have the instantaneous dosing. So it's straight into the portafilter, which is great when you've got a dosing pot or just trying to get that little bit extra or less depending on the control that you want. It's got the anthracite finish again, which is across the whole range, and it does have a few of those highlights of the copper badges as well. So let's make a coffee and we'll dive a little bit deeper as to why one of these machines may suit you. Welcome to the business end of the coffee machine. Over here, it is the Mechanika Slim. This does come in a different look and feel as well, but this Heritage line has a few unique little touches. So when you look at the steam taps, you can see the lovely embossed and copper insert here with a nice exposed different nut. In the gauges, you've got the needles, which are all copper as well, which is a beautiful little touch. Big copper badges, and the whole machine itself, actually across both of them, is actually finished in a satin. It's not a polished across the whole machine. Now, I think it's a really nice touch because the polished units can scratch quite easily and show up fingerprints, where this seems to hold up a lot better. And I think it's going to last a little bit longer, but it sits a little bit more period correct for a heritage feel. The other thing that ECM do is in their mushrooms, or essentially this big nut that sits on the top, it is a full stainless steel one. So other manufacturers use ceramic or brass and then they chrome plate them, but it is a big difference when you've got that stainless steel one, and how the water flows inside the E61 group is just a little bit different, but that attention to detail from the Germans is fantastic. Both machines come with a set of group handles, so you've got your single and your double, which have the two different size baskets in them, and you do get your blind backwash basket as well. Now, the one thing, again, attention to detail, is a lot of group handles are heavy at this end because there's a big mass of metal, you've got your basket, and the rest could be plastic. Where with the ECM, they've put this weighted end on it, so it is a fully balanced group handle, which is fantastic. You can, as a barista, get a little bit of a sore elbow, and part of that is because the weight is on the front of your group handle when you're making lots of coffees. You've got little embossed logos as well, which just add that little bit of finesse onto the handles. So in your double basket here, you'd be fitting 19.5 grams. If you do want to get the big 22.5 gram dose, you would look to buy a bottomless or naked portafilter, which can match in the ECM range as well. The level of detail that you see in the handles has been replicated as well in the brew lever, which is really nice. It just feels a little bit more solid. Sometimes this lever and arm can feel a little bit dinky, but it's definitely gliding well and feels nice and solid. You've got cool touch steam wands and hot water wands across the ranges there. And when you run out of water, the orange light is going to flash to tell you to refill your tank. You can remove the tank, or you can top it up straight into the hopper there. All right, so once you put your cup rail back on, again, which is finished beautifully in this lovely finish with the copper surrounds, your tank switch is going to show that you've got water and you're ready to brew again. So that pretty much covers off the Mechanika Slim. With the S manual grinder, again, you've got this beautiful little copper finished in here, and there's actually 3 languages representing whether to go coarse or fine. So that's really interesting that they've done the Italian, the German, and the English. So a nice little touch there. You've got a really big hopper for your beans, and the worm drive on the back isn't just plastic. And we see that with a lot of manufacturers. It's full metal, super precise, and wouldn't expect anything less from German engineering. You've got your direct dosing straight into your portafilter handle. So look, to be honest, years ago, that was a bit of a tricky moment. You know, we went to this digital timing, but now we're all about weighing. So going back to this kind of grinder really does help when you've got a dosing pot and a scale, or if you're weighing the amount of dose, you can top up quite easily just by touching the button and getting a little bit more dose. So if anything, it's quite handy when we're doing single dosing or really trying to refine our specific recipe. So I guess the old tech is still fantastic when we're looking at progressing in our recipe building. So a bit of a plus there, I reckon, for sure. And then we've got the Synchronika. So the Synchronika has been around for a while and is definitely known for a huge amount of value and just precise coffee and fantastic engineering. In the Heritage line, you can see it does have the anthracite sides, which is covering that full stainless steel chassis. It's the same matte finish across the surfaces, which I think is fantastic. It really does blend well with the highlights of the copper in the steam taps, in each gauge, and the big gauge on the front. So that looks really nice. Which do you think is going to suit you better? Do you like this kind of Mechanika Slim sort of look, which has the cup rails, or do you like a little bit more refined, more classy, I guess, look of the Synchronika? So let us know in the comments below, which one do you think looks better? Now, a little sneaky detail that does make it a bit easier, I think, when you're going to clean your machine, is there is a little cutout, and a lot of people don't realize what this is for under your drip tray. It's to hold your blind basket. So when you're going to go cleaning, it's pretty handy to have access to that, which is great. And in here, the Synchronika does come with all the extras, so you can have your drip tray being drained down. There's a little box that you'd fit in. It's got the hose to go straight for the plumbing. You've got group head brush, a little cleaning up brush, and it also does come with a cup riser. So that's very Italian, so you can fit your espresso cups a bit closer up to your spouts. So if you want to see a full unboxing of this, we've got a link to that in the video where we did that live, actually, where we unboxed all of this on our live YouTube. So if you want to see a little bit more detail on how we dialed this grinder in for the first time, there's a really quick tip there. It would definitely be a great way for you to understand how to set up a grinder nice and quick. And we made a coffee on the Mechanika over here. So we're going to make a coffee now on the Synchronika. We have our double spout basket, which is a 19.5 gram recipe here. So I'm going to get our grind. Pretty close. Let's go one more. Look at that, spot on. Pop it into our dosing pot, invert, give it a bit of a spin, a little bit of a tap there as well. We do like the distributing tools, so pop that on, give it a little bit of a spin. And this is the flat tamper that comes with the Mechanika. The Synchronika does have a little bit more robust, bigger flat based and a bigger handle tamper that comes in the pack as well. So tamp flat and level. Now it is an E61 group head, so we do want to flush. It'll just allow us to make sure that everything's nice and warm and get a bit of a steady temperature in the front brew group. Now this can be set to an individual temperature because we do have the dual boilers. We're set right now at the moment to 93 degrees, which you can see on the front there. And it does flick to the rear boiler showing 126, which is the steam boiler. And you can see that's represented on the gauge up here at about 1.4 on the gauge there. So we'll lock in our group handle. We're going to go for a 2-to-1 recipe. I like a little bit of a pre-infusion for 2 seconds on and off. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see that the PID controller has now become a shot timer. Now for us on our shots, we want to get it about 6 seconds before it starts to drop. So right now that's quite a restricted espresso. It's definitely going to be quite rich. So because it is so restricted, I can't go that full long length of time. So I'm actually going to go back and make it a ristretto. We'll go to the 1:1, which I've just gone over a little bit there at 22. We'll get our milk ready, we'll give it a purge. And again, if you wanted more or less steam, because it's a dual boiler, you can change the temperature of the rear boiler and change your steam pressures. So flat and level on your jug, just like we teach on most machines, having this jug locked in on the angle, you'll be able to get it to spin nicely. Lower the jug, keeping that spout locked into the steam wand, getting a nice constant little crackle. Once you're happy with the foam that you're after, just lift the jug up a little bit to get no hiss. Keep it spinning till it gets too hot. Too hot to touch. Count 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Turn it off. Sit and rest your milk and give yourself a nice clean up and a little purge. There we go. It's nice to have those cool touch wands there as well. Look at that milk. That is sexy, silky milk. That is wonderful. Got our espresso, swirl it, go in nice and solid, in and low, around the cup. Here we go, and finish off with a little rosetta. That is really glossy milk. And you can see it settling in the cup as well, and that's what we're looking for with timing, just on coffee. And you can see that the foam is setting just like a Guinness essentially, and you can see that that isn't all pale, it's actually part of the crema. So that is what you want to look for, getting good timing. Dual boilers do help with that a little bit, and allowing you to make lots of coffees time and time again. So being a dual boiler in this Synchronika, there's a lot more settings that you can play with. So let's come and have a bit of a look. So you can see that the PID does flick between the front and rear boiler. So the 125 is the rear boiler and 93 is the front brew boiler. So we can push the two buttons together and it says T1. And if you push your right button, that is changing your group head temperature. You can go up or down once you've selected it. 93 is a really good setting. Once it goes back to T1, you can come down to T2. 125 is our rear boiler. I think that's probably the max where you want to be. It does pop itself out of the menu, so you have to just pop back in. Now O2 means that if you turn this off, you'll have the rear steam boiler off. Now that's important to know because that's a digital setting to turn off the rear boiler, where also under the drip tray here, you'll see there's a mechanical version of as well. So over this side here, on the I side, that means that steam boiler's on. That is steam boiler off, and you'll see the orange light has gone off as well. On the other set of switches here, this is whether you're selecting the tank or whether you're going to have it plumbed in. Now, if you have this turned off on the O2, it will still show that the element light is on and trying to boil, but it will not heat up the rear boiler. So just something to note. We'll go back into the menu. And this is the cleaning option. So basically you can set it to how many coffees you want to be reminded when you should clean your machine. So you can increase that number from 0 to 200 and it will basically let you know you need to clean when you hit that number. We'll go back into the menu. So FH is fast heat. So if you turn that on, it will prioritize the front brew boiler. It won't turn on the steam. So essentially, if you're an Italian and you want to have an espresso in the morning and you don't want to have the rear boiler heat up, you can just make this side of the machine heat up nice and quick and be making coffee very quickly. Going back into the menu again. Eco setting, so that'll allow it to reduce its temperature and save a bit of power when you're not using it. If you have it on Eco, all you have to do is lift up the brew group and it will then start to heat back up to the temperatures of the PID. And then if you cycle through, the last option is 0, so you can use Celsius or Fahrenheit, whichever you prefer. Well, there you have it. There's a bit of a walkthrough through the limited edition Heritage Line brought to you by ECM. There's certainly some beautiful highlights and some features that you just don't see on other machines that other manufacturers offer. So definitely worth a look. You can either get entry-level sort of products here with the Mechanika Slim, or you can go full high-end and get everything you want dual boilers and full control with the Synchronika. Pairing that with the matching grinder, the S Manual 64. So it'd be a great complement to your home kit, and I'm sure this would fit your, many homes out there with that heritage sort of lifestyle kitchens. So anyway, if you've got any questions, hey, pop them down below. I look forward to answering those. What do you think? Which is the winner? Which one would really suit you? We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.